Thanks for joining me for 8 Steps to Improve Your Cyber Resilience. This is a recording of a session that I recently delivered at a CPA conference, which proved to be quite popular. So we've decided to record the content and make it available online, especially given the recent Optus data breach, in the hope that the tips, tricks, and quick wins we're going to cover might help protect you and your business from cybercrime. So what does a good cybersecurity strategy actually look like, you might ask? Many of you will be familiar with tools like multi-factor authentication, antivirus software, or anti-spam protection, and you might even attend security awareness training. However, a good cybersecurity strategy is about more than just deploying software to protect your business. So I'd like to take some time to discuss what a more comprehensive cybersecurity strategy looks like and why it's never been more important that it's deployed within your business. My name is Adam, and I'm a director at Lucid, and I enjoy working with businesses to transform the way that they access and use data and improve their cyber resilience. And with accounting firms being one of our industry specializations, we're very much security first in our approach to IT, and as such, we've partnered with the Australian government and Microsoft to deliver best practice IT and cybersecurity solutions to our customers. Many of you have embraced technologies such as cloud-based practice management solutions and document management solutions to help your businesses scale and become more efficient. However, what we've noticed is that the adoption of cloud technology has generally outpaced that of cybersecurity. Whilst technology has changed the way that we live our lives and for the most part improved it, adoption of technology also carries risk. Many businesses have been quick to adopt new technology, taking into consideration features, benefit, and cost, but through a lack of general awareness, little, if any, consideration is given to how the technology is secured to protect them, and cyber criminals play into this weakness, often with devastating consequences. The organisations you see listed here are all the victims of large-scale cybercrime. Optus have just suffered a very large-scale and public data breach where details such as the name, date of birth, email address, driver's license, Medicare card, and passport numbers of their customers may have been exposed. ANU were the victim of a sophisticated cyber attack that shocked even the most experienced Australian experts. Service New South Wales had their email system hacked through a phishing attack. And Eastern Health had 4 hospitals offline in what is suspected to be a large-scale ransomware attack. And even the Australian Parliament suffered a network breach by a state-sponsored group, suspected to be a result of their decision on Australia's 5G rollout. And the Northern Territory government suffered a breach of their COVID check-in app. The problem when you hear about these breaches, you tend to think, well, these are large organisations, and why would cyber criminals target my business? I only run a small practice. So today I'm going to explain why this school of thought is wrong and your practice is actually at a greater risk. In Australia alone, there are approximately 300,000 cybercrimes committed every year, and only 100 police officers across the country dedicated to investigation. A former Australian federal police officer estimates that there have been less than 300 completed investigations into cybercrime in the past 20 years, only of which 150 were prosecuted. The face of cybercrime has changed. Criminals no longer hold up banks when there's no need to. They can safely steal money from behind a computer screen with very little risk of being caught. If it were measured as a country, cybercrime would be the 3rd largest economy behind the US and China at approximately $6 trillion. These costs are associated with loss of revenue, ransomware payment, recovery of systems, restoration of data, insurance claims, and more. It's estimated that cybercrime will continue to grow at an annual rate of 15%, with an estimated cost of $10.5 trillion by 2025. In the past year alone, we've experienced a 300% global increase in ransomware attacks alone, and statistics show that SMB is the victim of over 50% of cyber attacks. I'm not sure how you feel about this slide, but to me it looks pretty overwhelming. And what you're looking at here is 37 of the best strategies to prevent, limit, and recover from cyber attacks. And these are only a handful of strategies published in the ISM. Large corporates typically have a dedicated IT department and budget to implement and manage complex cybersecurity frameworks. Yet the SMB market accounts for over 90% of Australian businesses. SMB typically don't have a dedicated IT department, let alone a cybersecurity budget, but their data and livelihood is just as important. So How might SMB go about deploying these strategies with limited resourcing? Tip number one, application control technologies restrict the use of unauthorized software from being present or running on computer systems. Application whitelisting technologies uniquely identify every file on a computer or server and place trust in them. This is known as zero trust technology. If any file is tampered with, it is prevented from being accessed. Application whitelisting technologies, in my opinion, next to multi-factor authentication, are one of the best technologies you can look to deploy within your business. Tip number two, user accounts with administrative privileges on computers and networks can make significant changes to the configuration, bypass security settings, and access, modify, or delete sensitive information. If a user account with these privileges is compromised, the extent and reach of a cyber attack is typically far greater. So essentially, make sure that admin accounts are removed when they're not being used, and also limit privilege creep, or make sure that user accounts don't have excessive privileges assigned to them. Tip number three, a macro is typically used to replace a repetitive series of keyboard and mouse actions, and is often used in spreadsheets and word processing applications like Microsoft Excel and Word. Due to their nature, macros can be used to execute malicious actions resulting in unauthorized access to computer systems. Microsoft Office environments can be configured to prevent macros that have come from the internet or that have not been identified as trusted. So ensure that if you're not using macros, those functions are disabled, and if you are using macros, make sure that they're signed. Tip number four, user application hardening reduces the way in which cybercriminals can deploy malicious software onto a computer. So blocking or removing common software used to download or run malicious software prevents that software from being run on computer systems. Tip five, a software patch is a modification to a program to improve its security or performance. Application patching is the process of installing these improvements to mitigate known security vulnerabilities before they can be exploited by cybercriminals. Software patches are produced by the software creators and should be deployed as soon as possible. Tip number six, patching operating systems is a process of applying the latest security updates to a computer's operating system, Microsoft Windows or Mac OS, for example, and even mobile phones like Android or iOS. Patching operating systems prevents cybercriminals from using known security vulnerabilities to attack your network and achieve their objectives. So once again, when these patches are released, don't click that ignore button, make sure they're applied as soon as possible. Tip number seven, multi-factor authentication next to whitelisting technology is one of the most effective security measures organizations can implement to prevent attackers from gaining access to networks and devices. Often known as two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication requires users to present two or more separate pieces of evidence when signing into their account. And last but not least, tip number seven, backups. Backups are a means of restoring important files, applications, or entire computer systems and servers following a cyber attack. Backups must be monitored to ensure they are working and verified to ensure the data is good, and they should be tested to ensure that the data is recoverable. And as we say in the industry, backup is only as good as your last recovery. The Essential 8 is a series of baseline mitigation strategies that the ASDs encouraged all businesses to adopt. It was first published in 2017, and according to the ASD, these 8 controls alone have the potential to prevent up to 85% of cyber attacks. So wait a minute, that long list that I showed you earlier has now been shaped into 8 simple areas, and we've just been through them one by one. There are many global cybersecurity frameworks to choose from, but the fundamental concepts remain the same. And the 8 was chosen because they provide a great return on investment and form an excellent baseline to protect your business from cybercrime. Small businesses often don't have the time or resources to deploy and train employees in complex policy. And whilst great policy is important, the Essential 8 are solely technical controls requiring virtually no policy to deploy. Proactively implementing these strategies is far more cost effective in terms of time and effort and requires less internal management to operate. Through a cyber auditing process, a business can have its cyber resilience or maturity ranked from 0 to 3, 0 indicating an overall weakness in posture. Based on the information I've provided so far, it Probably comes as no surprise that 0 is the most common maturity level found within Australian SMB. As a minimum, Lucid encourages all businesses to adopt the standards found in maturity level 1, and levels 2 and 3 may be recommended depending on a business's threat profile and budget. There are many cost-effective solutions to improve cyber resilience. So in this example, I've selected Microsoft Small Business Premium, as many of you will already be using some of these applications. M365 bundles together several popular products including Office, Exchange, Mail, Teams, and SharePoint. And M365 Business Premium adds Defender for Business, which can prevent, detect, and respond to cyber threats. Essentially, Microsoft have introduced enterprise-grade security for SMB at a price that suits SMB. Deployed and configured correctly, this product alone addresses over 50% of the essential 8 controls. And the good news is for customers already using Microsoft 365, it's simply an upgrade to your existing subscription and some configuration by a Microsoft partner. A typical cybersecurity engagement will begin with an assessment which is used to understand how an IT environment ranks in terms of compliance. A report is produced detailing how a business measures in terms of its cybersecurity maturity, and this report is used to produce a scope of work for improvement. Improvements are delivered by means of a project, which can include installation and configuration of new hardware, deployment of new software, and reconfiguration of existing hardware and software. Often subscription-based services are required as these tools require constant information provided to them so they can recognize new types of cyber threats and attacks. A cybersecurity engagement will require the establishment of a service agreement. The reason for this is that an IT environment requires constant maintenance and monitoring to ensure that it maintains compliance. For example, it's impossible to maintain even level 1 compliance without regular vulnerability scanning, patching, and remediation, all of which are key concepts of the cybersecurity framework. A good engagement should also integrate with your HR process for the induction and exit of staff. I say this because managing access to networks and data is a critical component of a good cybersecurity strategy, and you'd be surprised at the amount of businesses that during an onboarding or offboarding forget to remove access to networks. Cybersecurity is an industry specialization, and it's vital that your IT partner has the skills and the capabilities to protect your business. A good partner should be proactive in their approach to cybersecurity and be offering solutions and advice. Understanding what is included in your IT agreement is also very important. Whilst a standard managed IT agreement may include a firewall, antivirus protection, and anti-spam protection, these tools alone do not form a comprehensive strategy and don't meet Australian Essential 8 standards. Your IT partner should have an in-depth understanding of the accounting industry, its tools, its challenges, and solutions that fit you. And industry certifications and strong vendor partnerships are also a great way of knowing they're up to the task. I sincerely hope that you found this presentation informative, and I really hope that you'll leave inspired and ready to take action. To assist you, we've put together a useful toolkit containing details of the Essential 8 strategies, examples of deployment, and some quick wins for your business. To download them, simply scan the QR code shown on screen or head to our website to download. And of course, if you have any questions or you'd like an obligation-free consultation, our team are always ready to assist. Thanks for your time and stay cyber safe.